Welcome to the Mono Workshop number 5. Hopefully you can hear me. This session we're going to be looking, at whatever questions people have. Ooh, what's happening there? There we go. That's yes to hearing me. So basically we'll be looking at maybe a bit of Reactor or any other questions that people in the chat may have. So if you have any questions, feel free to jump in and ask away. So let's jump in. Okay. So the usual beginning, starting with the template. Extract here. Let's add a new space. On the desktop, this one, open. Hopefully it just goes, yep, there we go. As always, 2020.3.18 is the best template for, the best Unity version for now, and if you're installing it, don't forget to include the WebGL version. If you don't have WebGL, it will not work in Mono. How's everyone up? I do. With like one person, I think. Mona, load space scenes, right mouse click, remove scene. And done. We now have a Mona space. Alright. So, what should we make today? The world is our oyster. Any questions? Any? Okay, maybe not. Fair enough. Let's do some... well, I'm probably not going to use these today. I'll get rid of them. Notice how I didn't delete the artifacts. That needs to be there. We need one portal in the space, so I'm going to leave that there, but I'm going to move it away to there, for example. So we have all our space to play with. All right, sure. Why not? All right, so I need a canvas again. Happy to help. So canvas goes under artifacts. Let's put this over here, for example. Okay. iOS, no. We don't have mobile Mona as yet. Although I believe it's on the roadmap, but it's going to be a while away. I think we have a few things to get through before that. All right. So let's create an empty. Let's put that about there. I have a cool idea for this. All right. So Reactor first. Yeah. Base. So if you don't know, Reactor is kind of an interactive tool, as Mona doesn't support scripting for various reasons. So we're using the Animator and parameters in animators to create some interactive elements. So at the moment we have on enter trigger and on exit trigger, for example. Now the Mona Reactor script is here. So I usually put it on an empty game object just for organization, and then I can move this around if I need to. It also keeps things a lot neater. Having a reactor and a collider on top of the mesh render and all the other things is a bit much. So we have that. I'm gonna leave that there. And we need a collider. So let's do box collider. Now what I'm going to do with this one is when you walk on the plate, or yeah, when you walk on the plate, basically something will happen. So let's create a cube. Put that here. F to zoom. Put that under just to make it easier. And we can move that up, for example. Now note how positioning of the reactor is kind of important because the gizmo is based on the objects that has it. So there's that sort of thing. Okay, so with our canvas, we actually want an animator. Alv, do we put it on... I assume we put it on the prefab, yeah? I'm gonna go yes. Until you say otherwise. Actually, don't do that. Usually when I set an animator, I will actually do it like this, so it sort of sets it all up for me. So say, for example, we go to animation, select the object you want to animate. As there is no animation or animator, this will be available. Press create. And then we can add our animation here. Now this, make sure this is the base state because this will be automatically set to default. So let's go just idle, canvas idle. Because naming is important. All right. So let's grab that. Hold control so we can snap and put that there. And the next one we're going to do is, let's say we want to move it to somewhere else. Canvas pause 1. Chord. Let's go up. Right. So in here we have two animations. Now notice it's just one frame. I'm going to use transition period in the animator to make the transition between the two. So let's do that. So as you can see, the orange one is orange. The idle is orange because that is the default state because I made it first. If I wanted to, however, I could right mouse click and set layer as default. So this is where the animation will start, but I want it on this one. Make transition. So right mouse click, make transition. Oh, didn't like that. Make transition and drag it to where you want it to go. Before doing anything further, we need a parameter. Let's do int on this one. I have a interesting idea. Canvas state. Make sure you track the what do you call it? The capitalization, because that is important. So Reactor will basically look at this, and then it can affect this number. You have different types that we have access to. We have float, int, and boolean. We don't have triggers yet. I'm hoping to put that in soon, though, maybe. So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to turn off has exit time, so it triggers at any point rather than just at the end of the exit time. I think that's how it works. Canvas state equals 1, for example. I'm going to get rid of that one. And let's do create a new clip. 2. Over here. And why not do that? Now notice how I hit record here. If that doesn't get hit, it will not track any of the information that you add. So we've basically got idle. We've got canvas. Now sometimes you have to do that to make it work. And then 0.2, which is over there. And then this is added. So when it goes to from 0, it'll be here. When it goes to 1, it'll be here. And when canvas state equals 2, it'll go here. And when canvas state goes here, we want great equals to, nope, equals to 0. So when I roll on this one, it's going to be, make it 1. When I roll over another one, it'll make it 2, and then back to here, for example. All right, so that should work. So let's go back to our reactor. Now, this is where we set these parameters, basically. So let's have a look. On end to trigger, we want to set pos 1. Now, this is purely label, that's it. Doesn't mean anything else, so you can name it whatever you like. We want to set this object's parameter, which is canvas state. We want to set it. Now we could add it. No, we're going to set it because it's very specific. So we're going to set the int to 1. Nothing happens on exit trigger. Okay. Actually, I'm going to modify this because position 1 doesn't make any sense at all. So let's fix that. Zoop. Yep. Yep. Let's put it up 1. There we go. And let's put that over here, maybe. Random example, very quick. Not meant to be good. Okay. So let's do a quick test just to make sure this works, and then hopefully we can copy this. So let's go back to setting this to there. All right. Theoretically, that should work. Let's try it out. Oops. Ha ha ha. Artifact is missing an artifact tag. Ah, because that is there, right? So we need to put this in here. Thank you, Q&A. Well, let's make sure that that is... That's interesting. Huh. Ah, we have to fix that. So yes, if this happens, make sure that your unique name object has canvas applied. Turns out that I think the canvas in here does not have that applied. Interesting. How about the other ones? Let's check the other ones while we're here. That one's okay. And artifact prefab. That's okay. All right, so it's just a canvas. So note to self, fix that in the template. I'm not sure if the template canvas has that. I'll check that as well at some point. Okay, let's try this. Okay. Now, the canvas is set after you build it to your wallet, so you'll have it coming soon until you do that, basically. So, okay. What have I missed? Now, don't forget to delete your playground files, because sometimes if you use the playground button, it will not update the playground files. So make sure you do that. Ah, that's why. Okay. So as an idiot, I did the animation on this when it's the wrong animation. So this one is... Huh? Ah, okay. I don't think it works on canvases because we can't access them because it's a different scene. So I'm going to try something. I'm going to put that in here. And then we can try and do that. There we go. All right, that connects better. Try again. Walk. Ha! Yep. So the only problem with that is so that means that the collider basically needs to stick with the canvas, because unless you made an artifact, a separate artifact as the collider. So that's interesting. So yeah, canvases do work with caveats, I guess. All right. So yeah, next. Yeah, let's do that, I guess. So I'm gonna make an artifact object because I really like that idea of having. I'm gonna delete that. Yeah. Let's unpack that so we can actually edit it. Delete me. There we go. That is still the canvas prefab, so that should work. Canvas Reactor. Now, in this case, I could hopefully duplicate that. Okay. There. And then we're going to, that's the same thing, but this time we're going to set that to 2. And that's all we need to do for that. Quite easy. And because it's so easy, theoretically, I'm going to put the third one as well. Now, I want to slow these down a bit, so I'm going to make that transition longer, make that transition longer, and I'm going to make that transition longer. I'm also going to select this reactor and make that back to 0. All right. Theoretically, that should work. What is going on there? Interesting. 1, 2, 3. Now, because it's a int, it doesn't work until it gets to that state. So that's quite useful. For example, if you want to control animations, like so. This is possibly the best thing I've ever made. Like nothing can touch this. Now, why was there a thing there? Where was that collider that was weird? Where is it? Can't find it. Ah, there it is. What is that? Anyway, so yeah, that's a quick example of canvases that can animate. So yes, that 100% does work. That said, turns out, and I didn't even know this, you can only, I think, there might be a way around it, I'm not sure, but you can only apply objects that are within the scene, I think. So that's why I made an artifact that is in this scene, because I didn't want the reactor to be as a child of this, because then it moves all over the place. So yeah, there are ways to do it. So yeah, that's a quick test. Any questions from the chat? Just see the memes in the chat. Man, you guys are pulling out these things super fast. I need a full-time job as a meme generator, and then I can do it. What else do we have? The best thing that can be done with the reactors depends on how weird your imagination is. The best I've seen so far, someone had basically a disabled camera in the scene, so when you triggered it, it actually kind of did a cinematic for a bit. That was quite impressive. I started walking piano, so you could walk on the piano and the notes would go down and change color. I'll have to find the notes to add that eventually. So basically a live piano. So that was kind of fun. Let me see. There, that's it. Actually, no, it's not. That shouldn't be. Ah, there he is. Okay. So, don't want that. Don't want that. Don't want that. Okay, it's something under this. That needs to be there. I wonder. Oh, okay. Interesting. So a box collider on the canvas reactor does count as a collider for this one, even though it isn't actually a collider that you can walk into, I don't think. But that's why, unless these were it. That's interesting. Okay. Just want to check something there. Podium type object that could house a 3D model that someone could add a verified NFT of inside a monospace. Podium type. So you're thinking like a display that you could put a mini 3D object in. Is that, yeah, okay. So yeah, yeah, I would probably do that as an artifact. So the podium would be part of the space. And then you would have your 3D object as an artifact. And then when people click on the artifact, you would go to the website that houses the NFT or whatever website you want to connect it to, for example. Is it there? It is there. Somewhere. I have to make it visible so I can see what it's doing. Anyway, I'll have to do some tests on that. That's an interesting little bug / feature. Yeah, so let's make a little podium. Just as an example. So as an artifact, no. So in the space, for example, let's just do this. I would create an amazingly cool, like so cool, podium. Ta-da! Now it depends on how big it was. You could do whatever you wanted, really. And of course, I have to make a glass material to put it in. Material. Bluish. Does anyone know the difference between fade and transparent? I'm always kind of interested in these ones. I haven't really found the difference on those before. I like 0.8. Oh, 0.8. 0.8. Super shiny. Glass. Podium done. And then in that, we're going to create an artifact. It's kind of cute. Ooh, good to know. Okay, useful. So in that case, this basically has to be transparent for the best effect. I'll have to do the reflection maps as well then. Okay, so this little artifact here, we do that. Let's call it a unique name. Cool 3D home. I'm going to edit that a little bit because homes are usually bigger. Like so. I'm going to change the spawn point to there. Maybe a bit closer. Cool. And that's basically it. So when you update, actually, might do is I want the whole podium to show the other fact. Being too small, it actually gets a little bit complicated to see the object. So kind of make it as big as the thing that you expect it to be seen. Yeah, no, artifact's pretty easy. So then when you go playground, you can see it. Super easy. Where? Ah, there it is. No, there's that invisible thing. So notice how the game object name is Cool 3D Home. That's the unique name, and that's the thing that like it looks at. So when you click on it, for example, that would load up the website that you connect, for example. Sure. What do you want it to do? So notice that. So if it was really small, that would actually be much harder to do. The collider. So make sure that the collider is the unique object name artifact tagged object has a reasonable size collider, for example, because otherwise that would be on off on off. So that's quite reasonable, I think. All right. All right, I have an idea for Reactor. So let's do that. Okay. So I'm going to rename this. This one can be renamed. So reactors for space. Canvas reactors. Okay, so those three are over there. I'm going to copy one of them. Control D. And I put that over here. But I'm going to make it hidden because I want it to be a bit of a surprise. Okay. Now, we need this artifact. So I'm going to unpack that so we don't have to worry about any conflicts of prefabs. I'm going to add an animator. No, I'm not. I'm going to click on this and go to animation because then it sets it up for me. Once again, no animation or animator, so I can just do this really quick. What do we got? Podium is haunted. No. Podium idle is the first one. Basically, we're going to do because the podium is over there. Okay, that's interesting. Okay. I'm going to cancel that because that's not what I want the animator to be on. Remove component. I want it to be on. Okay. So the canvas. Yeah. Oh, that's annoying. That you have to do it scene based. Okay. Fine. 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 So in that case, I'm going to have to put these into here. Move this. Yeah, that works. Okay. Animator again. Now, if you delete your controller when you use this system, I'll get to that question in a sec. Robot 69 monster. I was going to lost my train. That's why. Okay, so when you delete your animator and you want to use the ones that you actually made, animators are these ones with the two boxes, and your animations are the ones with the triangle and the little lines there. So because I made this previously, I can just drag this back into the object, for example. So that's the one there. And therefore I already have the podium idle. So it's already set up. So there are ways around that if you delete things by mistake or on purpose. So I got that. All right. So I'm going to make sure that this is the right object. Seems like it is. We're going to create a new animation. Okay, now, robot, my computer is, what is it? Ryzen 5 950X, 2070 RTX, 64 gig of RAM. and a lot of lights. 12 gig of RAM, I think it is. No, 12 gig of hard drive space. That's kind of mostly full with junk. Too fast. Let's go 10 seconds. So grab all that, and then you can drag them. If you wanted to, you can actually go opposite, for example. So that's how I do reverse if I needed to. Maybe 5. Yeah, that's nice. 100%. Like 50% of the speed, but worth it. All right. So we have our 2. Go to Animator. Pody model is the default. Right mouse click, make transition. Once again, we need a parameter. So if you start here, it'll be on layers. Click over to parameters. Let's go with a Boolean this time. Is it haunted? Yes, it is. Exit time, so it starts whenever we want. Haunted is true. Haunted is false. Now we want that. Maybe a little bit of a transition between those 2 points. And a little bit longer transition between those 2 points. Okay, that should be good. Now, cube. Cube 3, this is the one. There it is. So box collider is correct there. We want to set this artifact haunted. Set artifact canvas state, which was haunted. Boolean to true, lowercase t. And then not haunted, just a label. Set artifact haunted Boolean to false. Okay. Fingers crossed. Got the connection, so that looks correct. Let's give it a shot. There. I gotta get rid of that. Look at this innocent. Ah! So scary. That's kind of funny. So notice how the transition is quite slow. And I think that's a little bit too slow, but that's easy to fix in the transition between those 2 states. So 2 cubes in an artifact, making an interesting space. 2 cubes in an artifact walk into a bar. So yeah, in this case, this is too long. Now, if you wanted to, you can actually use this as well. So that's kind of like a 1 second duration, but let's say we want about half that. And then we can do that sort of thing. That's how ghosts roll. Like, don't you know? They've had a long life. They need to chill out. 0.5 is good. So just to prove that, not that you need to, I'm sure you get it, but I also like kind of proving how quick it is to test things in Mona. Oops, not that way. This way. Nope, not that way. The snap thing is always, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah. Now it's a little too fast, but yeah. That's okay. It's cool. All right. So yeah, do note that, yeah, trying to get a reactor from a trigger in a space to artifacts. I guess portals would probably work as well. But you would actually have to create it in the same scene. I probably wouldn't do boxes in portals because portals are dedicated doors and stuff. So I probably wouldn't recommend using it on portals. But using an artifact to control other artifacts, I think, is a reasonable thing. But maybe make sure you create. Yeah, I don't know if I'd recommend it, but it's possible. It's up to you, I guess. Yes, I think so. If well, let's do it. I've been playing with Amplify a bit more lately, and it's really cool. So I do intend. I'm not a shader guy. I know nothing about the vectors and the maths and the nodes, but I'm assuming, and we can probably do a test now. Shader editor, yeah, that's it. If you what do you call it? Make there's a specific word for it. When you make one of the parameters available on the material, you should be able to animate it. And if it can be animated, it can be used in Reactor, basically. What's the word? Yeah, using the editor. So, but you would have to make it visible. What's the technical term? Enhance? No. Uh, globalize? Visibilization? No. Like that yeah. You got to make it a property. Okay, sure. But there's another word that's gonna bother me so much. Anyway. All right. So let's make a random shader then, shall we? I do intend on making some shaders over the coming weeks and months. Expose. Maybe that's the one. Expose. Yes. Close enough. It'll do. That will let me sleep at night. Folder. There we go. Shaders. Create, amplify shader, a surface. All right. Tester. Cool. All right. So let's do. What do we want to do? I don't have any materials. I don't have anything really in here. So let's just let's make something, I guess. So up here, I think, what is it? Click on that and then make it a reference. Let's make a new material. As that, I know nothing about Amplify. So once you have a new material, you can go up here and then apply your shader, for example. Now, color doesn't really do that. But once you do it, you can actually open up shaders here, which is actually kind of cool. Oh, I didn't save it because I'm an idiot. Object reference. Go there. This might not work because you can't name it. Yeah, it doesn't like that. Grab screen color. No. Oh. Yeah. So here we go. Use the right nodes, and that might help. So up here we got type. We want property because that will expose the property in the the material. Make it a cool name. Color tests, and I think that's pretty much it for this. You've got a default value. Let's leave that at black. Make sure to save it. Go. So we have a color test. So let's make our podium. Oh, that'd be cool. Okay, let's make our podium. Let's change the color. Let's just drag the color. So what do we got? Test reactor on there. Then we go down here. So basically, if it is here, theoretically, we can animate it. So idle's cool. Let's make it haunted. So put record on. Do this. Make it red. Now, what will happen is because the original is black and this is red, the transition will actually go from black to red. Theoretically. That's all I have to do, actually, because it's in the animation that's already there. So, let's give it a shot. Yeah, sorry. Brian, random tips. Literally, this is just going through, doing anything that the chat wants. Because I'm nice that way. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. As in, please do. Where is it? There. Okay. So, yes, Reactor does work on Amplify. That's kind of cool. So yeah, expose. Yeah, that's got to be it. Expose the property into the material if it can be exposed. Some things might not animate. But if you noticed, I'll get rid of that. Okay, hang on. So if you noticed when we did the animation, for example, that goes red. So let's go here to the middle and change the blue. Reactor is on. Notice how that's red? So that means it's been animated, for example. Let's go orange. Cool. All right, one haunted podium. Okay. Now, when you say export my model from Unity to Blender, or do you mean Blender to Unity? This space is going to be weird by the end of the next 2 hours. Yeah, gotcha. Okay, let's have a look. Blender. Why do you need a GLB? Usually Unity uses FBXs. Right. You wouldn't make, you would do that. That's completely different. So you would actually go from Unity, so from Blender to a GLB. And I'm not sure. Yeah, there we go. GLB. So basically you would export from Blender straight to Decentraland. Unity Pro. Actually, I know nothing about the Decentraland process, to be honest. But like just on the export process there, you can export to GLB from Blender, and I'm assuming that's how you would put it into Decentraland. But yeah, I know nothing about the Decentraland process, so I can't help you there. Sorry. You can actually use Blender for light mapping. I've not done it, but it is possible, I think, to create a second UV in Blender, bake light mapping, which would probably be better, actually, because it has like cycles and all that sort of stuff. You could potentially bake that into the model, but not too sure. Once again, I use Bakery. Bakery is amazing, super quick, and because I usually build my spaces in Unity, having baked objects coming in one by one, having their own unique light maps, gets too big. So I prefer to build in Unity, create assets in Blender, build the space in Unity, and then bake it all together with more control and all that sort of stuff in Unity. So that's my approach to it anyway. All right. Any other questions or things people would like to play with, for example? Any weird ideas we can play with Reactor? Inspire me, people. Yep, cool. So what that is emissive. So, ooh, let's let's make it a haunted emissive ghost. Okay. So that's actually pretty easy. So let's very, very easy. Okay. So with our material, let's make it neon haunted ghost. Actually. Does anyone oh, I have ideas. It's just a case of if anybody else wants some. Ideas is not the problem. Anyone who's used Amplify, how do you set the emissive HDR level on emission? I've done color, but it doesn't do the intensity, so I'm not sure how to do that just yet. Actually, otherwise I could do it here. And I kind of want to do it. This is something I can play with. Set HDR. Okay. So many things. On this bit? Fantastic. Rendering options? Nope. Color node. Gotcha. HDR. Is that all I had to... That's all I had to do? Are you kidding? Grrr. All right. That's... Okay, that's a game changer. Cool. All right. So let's make this 2. Density 2. And that one is 0. So basically, actually, I'll do it on a simple asset because not everyone has Amplify. So let's go here. Shader standard. So emissive and neon is based on this. So you click on emissive, and then you click on the HDR, and then you have the intensity, for example. So if we have red, and then we bump that up to 2, which is my usual go-to. And then I will usually do this down here as well, because if it goes white, it's not as good. So you can do some sort of effects down here as well. Sometimes I'll even change the color just because I can. And that's your emissive. And then you would have to bake the lights to get that emissive onto the environment, for example. So what I would do... Yeah, no, I'll keep it as a standard, just for that fact. So I would say sort of keep that as there. I'll change this to orange because I kind of liked that. But I will actually turn it down, so that's animated as well. Oh, let's go down to 0. That's kind of cool. Those two together. Is that not working? Why isn't that working? Okay, usually this can be animated. Usually. Ah, because I've clicked on that. Okay, gotcha. So click on that. Right. Okay, that makes sense. Make sure you click the right thing. So I had that selected, and I was animating and changing this when I need to be changing this on the actual object. So that makes a lot of sense, actually. So next one, make that orange, more orange to 2. There we go. Ta-da! Let's put that to 1. Copy that and paste that. So that's your things. And then if we wanted to, once again, okay. No, I'm not going to show it because we shouldn't do it. So what I was going to do is set this to a static, but as artifacts can be taken out, I do not recommend doing that. So what I'm actually going to do is move these 2 objects. No, I'll leave them there. So if you're making anything, make sure you put that into the space scene. For example, artifacts can be turned off. So if you bake lighting or shadows of an artifact into the space scene, and then an owner wants to delete them later, the shadows and that light will still be there, which may not be what you really want to do. So yeah, don't basically never turn any of the objects under artifacts to static. Portals you can, because those are fixed, but artifacts and canvases you should not. Now, if you really wanted to, what you could do is use a sort of a decal underneath that and put it under the base. So, for example, so let's do a quick example. So I'm going to make a quad. Turn off gizmos. Control to snap. Now, the problem with this is you might have some Z fighting and stuff, which isn't great. But I also don't want receives, and I don't want it to cast shadows. And then we can go into Photoshop and make a super simple mask for our light that we could put into the space. So let's do new 1024. 10, no, too big. 512 we could probably get away with. Okay. Get rid of that. Let's make it white. Let's make it gradient. Let's make it a circle. Let's make it in the center. Yeah, sure. I do plan on when I get the time that first scene where I had the doors and the elevators and the key picker opera and the counter and the piano that I'm currently working on. I haven't had a chance to work on them, but once I finish the piano, I will probably release that scene for everyone to play with. So hopefully that will be good for that. That. Nope. Invert. There we go. I forget if this can be just black and white or not. But we'll do this and see how it goes. Textures. Yeah, hopefully I'll do that. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Maybe this week if I get time. Things have opened up a little bit. I've just changed my schedule at my other work, so I'll have more time. So that should be fun. Okay, quad. No collider. New material. Glow. Decal. That'll do. Decal. Textures. Red, we don't want reflections. We do want some color. Sure, why not? Then this way we can actually animate it as well. So we've got that, for example. Where is that there? So if we wanted to, we could actually animate this as well. No. Okay. Right, we should have animated those instead. Yeah, it gets complicated when you're animating artifacts, because you can only animate these or the whole thing. I suppose you could animate everything. Yeah, let's try it. Okay, so this is where the animation is. So I'm going to now note when you set an animation to an object, you have access to everything underneath it. For example, so at the moment I'm animating the artifact prefab, like so, but let's not do that. We also need to maybe get rid of this as well, and then we want to just animate some of these things. So I'm going to animate these and this, and probably that. Okay. So the quad, yeah, that's fine. And then we go to Podium Haunted and do the same. Like so. Nope. Like so. Go to... let's just do it now and then we can stretch it out later. So we want to make this go up. So that's 1 second, 2 seconds. We want to copy all this. Now with the quad, because it goes up, maybe we want to go a bit bigger. And maybe with all of these, we want to go orange at the midway point. This one as well. Copy all of those, go to the end. We actually want that a little bit higher because we want it to be haunted. Dunk. That also means we want the quad to be a little bit bigger, just for accuracy. Then we can copy all those, go to the end. Hey, Agent. How's it going? All right. So let's do a quick test. We probably don't want that as solid. So we could either change the original texture, which we might do because it's going to be across the board. So let's turn that down a little bit to about there, maybe. And as you notice, it stays, because it's not animated, it stays that for across the board, for example. Now, there are better ways to do this. You could probably do some cool color effects with Amplify, for example, so it does like coloration over the top of whatever it is, stuff like that. I'm sure you could do that. But for a quick and nasty haunted podium, this will do. Now, be very careful with so Z fighting, for example, when you have two polygons in exactly the same space, you will get the sort of flickering sort of thing. Yeah, it's so annoying. I gotta get rid of it. But the thing is, I think it's the collider on the canvas. The reactor. I gotta check it. It's annoying. You're right. So when you have two polygons that are very close together, if they're exactly the same, it doesn't matter where you are, they will be fighting. So you'll get that sort of flickering effect. But if they're really close and you don't have the right settings on it, the further away you get, it starts doing some fighting. Luckily, with that particular thing, it's either far enough away or because shadows and all that sort of stuff is off. This doesn't seem to be a problem here. So yeah, we have our haunted emissive house, emissive podium. Yes, it is. It's going to go on YouTube. It'll be on Twitch as well. But yeah, usually all of my workshops are still available on YouTube's. So yeah, so that's kind of cool. All right. So yeah, so we have animated canvases using an int, and we have a haunted podium. I kind of love this podium. It's great. Next, any requests? Any questions? Any cool ideas for random reactors? We've got over here. We have this whole area over here. Ooh, that is an area I'm very interested in trying to do, but I do not have the shader ability to do that. That is 100% a shader thing. Yeah, that the first part was just making a quick 3-step reactor, so testing if it works on canvases. The main thing with that is your reactors have to be in the same scene as the object that you want to react. So basically, I made an artifact in here that has all of the reactor objects that affect the canvas and the artifact, the haunted podium, for example. So yeah, unfortunately, you can't drag and drop objects from other scenes into other scenes, which kind of makes sense, to be honest. So we got that. But yes, holograms I will 100% be looking into when I start going down the Amplify rabbit hole. But the Amplify rabbit hole is big and very deep. So yeah. All right. All right. Let's do some Something I've wanted to try for a while. Scale in spaces is not being played with nearly enough. Amplify is an asset that you can buy on the asset store. It's pretty cheap on... give me a sec. You definitely don't need it, but if you want to make your own assets in the standard render pipeline, your own shaders, sorry, it's basically the best way to do it, unless you want to program them yourself. So give me a second, I can pull it up. Yeah, here we go. So the Amplify shader, you can do great stuff. Note that any shader you make with Amplify has to be WebGL supported. There are nodes that do not work in the standard or Mona, for example, because it is not WebGL supported. So there's that. $88, but the Unity store has a ton of sales, so usually you can get it for half price if you keep an eye out. If you're interested in node-based animation, in node-based shaders, for example. All right. Now for this one, I'm going to put it in the space, I think. Now note that it has to be under that. If it was there, no, if it was there. So a good way to test if you've got the hierarchy correct is make sure you put everything down, you collapse everything to a small. If you have anything other than space, portals, and artifacts, it's wrong. So this, for example, needs to go under space. And that is what you want when everything is collapsed, so you won't get any QA errors with that sort of thing. If you're new here, let's go over a quick hierarchy example. So the space, this cannot be renamed. This needs a space tag. Nothing else should have a space tag. Because otherwise it'll start having conflicts. Spawn point has a spawn point tag, for example. You can grab that from the Mona assets. Portals do not rename or delete. Portals object needs to be here. All portals should be under that. It has a portal layer tag. No other objects have portal layer tags. Portal prefab. Each portal needs a portal prefab object, for example. Untagged here. Unique portal name. This needs a portal tag. No other object in this asset has the portal tag. It also needs a box collider so people can see it. Spawn point is the same, just under the portal fab. And assets are all of the things that visually represent your portal. Now, make sure to change this in your space. You don't want this in your space. So you would delete that and put other objects there to represent a door or a portal or whatever you like. If you want a second portal, you would make it a second portal, for example, and make sure there's a unique name, because it will throw errors if you don't, even if it's just renaming it. Artifacts are very similar. Artifacts, a game object has artifact layer. No other objects have the artifact layer tag. Each artifact or canvas has its own object. This unique canvas name has a canvas tag. This needs to be unique, so this would be sort of 1. This is already renamed. This is also renamed, but you've got that. So canvases have the canvas tag. An artifact has the artifact tag. No other objects have the artifact tag. And once again, usually get rid of the assets that we've created in the template. Otherwise, it just looks weird. Those are the main ones. What are some other problems? Most of the QA problems do come from tags being incorrect or on an object that shouldn't be. So most of your objects should be untagged. So mostly it always comes down to renaming the scene or deleting a scene by mistake or on purpose and not knowing. This artifacts has the artifact layer. You can also not rename this, like this has to be there. So basically, the minimum of a monospace is basically this. If it doesn't look like this when you've collapsed everything, something's wrong. No. That was just an example because we were testing if Reactor works on canvases. And it does, but the reactor has to be in the same scene so you can drag and drop the object into it. So yes, thanks for clarifying that because that's very, very important. Reactor does not have to be an artifact. In if anything, it's probably recommended not to. But once again, there are choices that you make with your space that is up to the builder. We're sort of opening it up to do sort of whatever you want, but there are caveats to some of the choices you make. So yeah. So in this case, I've made a dedicated artifact that has all of the reactors for the artifacts in this space. And the only reason I put it in here is because I wanted to animate the canvas, and I kind of wanted to animate the artifact as well. And if you put the reactor under the artifact, well, that's the thing. So in our haunted object, originally I animated the artifact itself, but when I created these assets, it would move with this, but in this case, it wouldn't. So the placement of your reactors depends on if you want it to move with the object or not with the object. So now that I know this process, I've learned a lot, and some of the errors in this space would need to be fixed. So say, for example, with the haunted house, I animated these objects individually rather than the whole thing, because if I animate the whole thing, everything goes with it. So what I would maybe do next time is this. So that is not animated anymore, but these are. So the reactor is there, and then when I animate it, it stays locked, for example. So yeah, don't animate the artifact prefab, animate the objects in it, or maybe the ones under assets and just the individual ones by themselves, so you have more control over what does what, and that should work. Note that you may have to animate this because this is the collider. So if you notice, it isn't animated. So when it's haunted, if you look up here, you wouldn't see the thing. So let's fix that now. So there. Oops. This is why you use snap, because it's much easier to do things like that. And then it will go down, but we can go 1, 2. Well, that didn't work. So there. And then just to make it accurate, we're going to copy that, go to the end, paste that. And therefore the collider that the character can see, hold down left control. Maybe right control. Yep, right control. Hold down control. Super useful. Another useful one is V. So if you do V, you can snap two vertices, for example. So if you have modular F to focus on an object as well. So I can now like rotate and move around these sort of things. But if I go V, why not? Or double click on this. Yeah, double click on that can also do it as well. So V, because I was doing V, so that might be it. So if you click on an object and press F, you'll focus on that, which is quite easy for getting around, navigation. Control to snap, and another useful one that I use a lot, that's off, is V. So say, for example, I have a point here, I can snap it to exactly where I want it to, with that sort of thing. So super useful, highly recommended. V, F, and control. Yeah, so when you're moving things around, yeah, animate it correctly, and that way this reactor can be in this artifact. So if I got rid of this whole artifact, the reactor is gone and it doesn't look for anything. So keep that in mind. That said, let's say this guy. This is going to be weird. Once again, he's in the right space. Actually, I'm going to make a empty, so I have a bit more control over the positioning of him. So put that there. How do you spell Cthulhu? Cthulhu? Robo Cthulhu. Note that the positioning of objects is based on the parent. So this is 25 away, but he is 000, for example. So if you're having rotation issues, sometimes I find that making an empty game object will actually kind of fix that up for you. If you are moving around in this space, not isometric, if you use WASD, you do some clipping stuff, which I don't recommend doing. But in orthographic, WASD allows you to navigate the space. In a big space, it gets quite slow. So if you hold shift, you can go faster. Zoom. Why does everyone say that? I actually find it really good for lining stuff up. But I have a friend who's like, he's the same. He hates it. Like, it's just like, shouldn't use it ever. But if I'm lining stuff up, like top view and front views and stuff, it's like, how else are you meant to do it? Okay. So I have an idea for this. So we want to animate this. Yeah, I'm going to put it on this because I want to control some other things. So create. Animations. Select children. Oh, what? Didn't work. Oh, not so important. I don't think. Hang on. Okay, let's do pivot global. Ah! For example. That doesn't do all the children. Oh, well. Okay. Oh, I have a bone tool for this. Oh, no, we'll use this. Okay. So we want... There's no easy way to do this, unfortunately. So I'm going to have to do this by hand. I have a bone... I think it's free. Is it free? Yeah, it's free. So I'm going to add this because it's free. So if you have an object with bones, for example, there's a bone tool, bone visualizer, that allows you to hopefully... How does it work again? Editor. Fingers crossed. Yeah. Do the thing. No worries. Cheers for popping in. Have a good one. How do we use it? How do we use it? Read me script. Let's read me. Nope. There. What? Why? Okay, let's try this. Nope. Let's try this. Nope. Let's try this. Put it on. Yeah, let's get rid of that. Calculate. 10. Ah, root node. Ah! There we go. Is there a button? What? I forget how to do it. Ah. There we go. Okay. Figured it out. Sorry about that. Okay, so now you have to click on the dots, and then you can move the bones a lot easier. Like so. The avatar does, yeah. Once again, don't use the avatar. But as a demo, because I don't have, I need to make some assets for these workshops so I can sort of do cooler stuff over time. Yeah, there are definitely better things to use with this sort of stuff. How do hands work? Okay, let's move that down, I guess. Now, what I actually want to do is kind of lift the character. I had that idea for a while now, so might as well play. Unless somebody else has a better idea. Okay. All right. Let's get rid of all those because it's messy. Let's add an empty game object. Now, scale also applies to the parent, and this is where some of the issues we're happening with the and I think we fixed them, but at some cost, for example. So when what's going on here? Sorry, I have to do it. See, it's easy. Let's do that. But yeah, go to orthographic after you do it. Then it's fine. Nope. Ah, okay. Light annoying things with that. Now, on that hand, we want a reactor. Get rid of that. Reactor. Box collider. There we go. Now, rotation of box is a bit of a weird one. They don't have rotation, so that's one of the sort of issues with the box. Well, any of the colliders actually is you can't really rotate them very well, unfortunately. That'll do. You get the picture. Okay. So when this, well, let's do idle. Let's get this guy animated. Now, because everything's a child of the other, it works correctly. I kind of want to slap action together. That'd be kind of fun. That's where we want to go. So let's do it kind of slower so it doesn't get, like the player doesn't get thrown around a bit. Say 3 seconds. Now I want this first. So I'm going to copy that and hope. Oh no, that's 3. Scroll to adjust. Sweet. Yeah, and this is why, this is the problem with not being able to snap, snap, snap. Dang it. Snap, snap. Snap, snap. All right. Copy, pick up, paste. This is going to be interesting to see if this actually works. Okay. You get the picture. I won't spend too much time on getting this perfect. What else is there? What else is there? Okay, so we need the reactor. So, oops, lift, and then when the player drops off, we'll go back to normal. So, drop. Now, if I recall, yeah. So remember when you're using Reactor, you have to make sure that you drag the object with the animator on it. Otherwise, it won't find what it's looking for. So in this case, it's the Cthulhu. And this doesn't actually have this set up yet. So let's do that. So idle, make transition, anytime, no parameter set, Boolean true. Let's call this one lift, which you can adjust after the fact, and then lift is false. Now, the first one, I want it to be very short because it will go up, but I want the second one just to go down with transition, just to show that that is 100% a thing. So yeah, that's done. Back to the hand. Set Cthulhu lift Boolean to true. Set animated Cthulhu lift to false. Okay. Might work. Let's try. I don't want to see this with the animated light now. Ah! Okay, that's kind of cool. All right. Where is he? There he is. All right, then. Interesting. That's a no. Why? What happened there? Okay, let's look at some of the animation. So idle. Yeah, it's there. Yeah, it's there. Oh, I wonder if it's a scale thing. I was possessed by the podium. I didn't have a choice. Okay. So my theory is that this doesn't play nice with the fact that this is 13 times bigger. So what I might try and do, and sometimes the gizmos don't update that well. So let's see. That's one. Yeah, I'm not too sure about that. No worries. Cheers, man. Have a good one. Thanks for coming. See, that's at 1, so it should work. But that has the box collider on it, which is the effect it was happening. So let's try this. Create empty, which is 1. Drag that in there. That's 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. Right. Okay. So now, because the parent of this is the reset is all at 0, this theoretically might be better, but hard to say. Actually, what we might do, let's put a mesh renderer on it. No materials. Let's on there. I don't know if I need anything else on a mesh renderer. I guess I need a mesh. There isn't a mesh on it. Is that how mesh renderers work? probably. Okay. Well, let's just give that a shot. Let's see if that fixes it. Probably not, but we'll see. No. It does not like that at all. Okay. That is gonna need some research, I think. The theory's there, though. No. Any other Reactor ideas that aren't a complete failure? I'm just gonna get rid of that. We'll do that another day. More testing needed. Okay. Any other requests for things to do? Otherwise, maybe. Yeah, we'll get rid of that. Oh no, we'll leave it open just in case. I'll save that actually. Maybe I'll put the I'll see if I can get the haunted object into the other test scene. So I'll get rid of that. Do I still have? Let's see how this goes. Is this it? Does this have? No, this isn't the one. Okay, hang on. Next. Storefront. Reactor tests. I think this might be it. I'm gonna check that. Really? Not gonna like this. Sure. This is probably gonna break the whole thing. We'll see. All right. Happy to keep going for another 15 minutes. So if there's any requests, either be it light mapping or bakery or light probes, reflection probes, optimization techniques, I'm happy to go over any of those while this loads and breaks. No one? No one's calling? Man, it's taking forever. Yeah, it doesn't like this at all. Okay, I'm gonna not do that. Yeah, that is a good idea. I'm going to do that. Let's go this one again. And get rid of that one. Yeah. All right. Now, the way I do it, anyway, if something fails or not working, is I will literally go through it step by step, thinking about how the process works. So, for example, go into Collider, do this, do that, do this. So let's go through this as an example. So imagine this did not work. And this is an artifact, if I recall. Yeah. So I will. Oh, the thing is, I can either start at the start and go to the end, or go to the end and then go to the start. So basically, reverse engineer or forward engineer. I think either is fine because there can be problems along the whole process. So let's do both, and let's see how we can do it. So let's start with the reactor. So click on the reactor. So name's not important. So basically set the artifact prefab, which is that one, which has an animator. Good. Parameter name. So I'll click on that, go to animator, haunted, double check the naming. So capital H, capital H. So if you click on it, you can actually see and compare directly. Ideally, we're going to be cleaning up the reactor to be a little bit more user-friendly. So we're hoping that if you maybe, once again, not too sure if we can do it or not, but say, for example, you drag an object on and it will give you the parameters to choose from, for example, or at least the value will be a toggle rather than writing true or false. Because something as simple as like a capital T will break it, or a capital F will break it, or the most common FASLE. So spelling mistakes will usually catch it as well. So yeah, so I'll check each thing. Once again, label doesn't matter. Set the operation. There are others. Inverter's a bit broken at the moment. These are good for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division is good for instant floats. Make sure it's the right object. So click on that. Click on that. Make sure it has an animator. Go into Animator. Check out the code. Make sure it's set to the right value type. So int, fully, and boolean, and then the value is correctly written. Also make sure that there is a box collider on the reactor. Now I think, not too sure about this, but I think if you do not have a box collider, it will automatically put one. But the size of it depends on everything that's related to it. So the parent and the child and all that sort of stuff. So if you want control over your reactor, then make sure it's a box collider, for example. So that's what I would check with that. The second thing, I would go to the animator. So once again, click on the right one, go to parameters. Clicking on each one doesn't actually matter, but this is where that happens. So make sure has exit time depends on your needs, for example. So has a fixed exit time, so it will end when you tell it to. Make sure that the condition is set to the right one. So sometimes it might be false, sometimes it will be true. So make sure it's correct at the start. And same with this one, haunted is false. Another problem that has happened is someone clicked this first. So if the idle is here and it's already set to true, and it's looking for true, it won't trigger because it's already true. And it won't be here to check if it's false. So make sure that your starting conditions are also correct. That has happened before. It took a while to figure that one out, but we got there in the end. And then, yeah, haunted, false is correct. Transition is not so important, but yeah. And that's pretty much it. What you can do if you wanted to is, because these are sort of animated with the gizmo, you can sort of see what's going on if you just scroll through this. So sometimes you'll find that the gizmo might animate when you don't want it to, or it does animate. Hang on. It'll animate when you don't want it to, or it doesn't animate when you do want it to. I found that sometimes the collider, if you want it to move with the object, it has to be under a child of the object, unless you animate it manually. So you could do it that way, but I wouldn't recommend it. So make sure that the collider that is triggering the events is acting and behaving and positioned where you want it to do. So this is very important with elevators. So if you want the elevator itself to be the trigger, so when you get on it, it goes with it, make sure that it is a child of the elevator. Because as soon as the elevator goes up and leaves the collider, then it will go down. So make sure that the collider is in the correct position in the hierarchy for the activities that you want it to do. So running through this sometimes will help and show you what's going on with the gizmo. Sometimes the gizmo does get a little messed up with position or rotation or scale. I think that is a positioning thing. So sometimes the collider and the gizmo are incorrect. We will hopefully get to that eventually, if possible. Unity does have some quirks that are kind of tricky to work around. So there is that. Once again, it's all experimental and trying to get it as clean as we can when we get time. But at the moment, we're working on some bigger things to make everything cool. So yeah, so that's the process I would go. I usually go through for Reactor and to make sure each step is accurate. Most problems come down to misspelling parameters, wrongly positioned reactors in the hierarchy, so it should be a child and it isn't, and vice versa. Yeah, those are the main two, to be honest. So that's my approach to it. Going in reverse, basically I will click on the animator and starting here, for example. So I'll check this, I'll check this and this, and you can actually test these to make sure these are working, for example. So you can sort of just press play here and it will do the transition and the animation, for example. So if that's working, you can use this as a guide to sort of show that this part works. And then you can check if these are correct, for example, and then you go back to the collider and make sure it's hitting the right ones, for example. So yeah, there's a few approaches to figuring out where the bug might be. The most frustrating things is you're looking straight at it and you don't see it, like Fosle, for example, looks very similar to false. So you really have to be careful with spelling on these. But as I said, hopefully we'll be able to improve that experience in the future. So hopefully that helps. And yeah, as you've seen in this whole workshop, I do that process several times. So yeah, there's definitely a little bit of trickery involved, but it's super useful when you figure it out and it works, and then you get that feeling of yay, I made it work. So that's cool. So yeah. All right. Any other questions there? Otherwise, might sort of wind down, I guess. I don't think I can do much in 5. Well, I can do a lot in 5 things. It's not going to be good. When it comes to elevators, I am planning to do an elevator tutorial, but just waiting for invert to be fixed so I can show the functionality of that, as that's super useful for elevators as well. So once that gets sorted out, I'll be getting an elevator tutorial up and running. And yeah, over time I'll be adding some more interesting things that come up as individual sort of experiences. If anyone has requests for type of reactor events that they would like to see, that I could release afterwards, of course, just tell me. Put it in the requests or the suggestions or whatever, and I'll get on them when I can. So happy to help anyone as they need it, basically. So yeah. All right. So apart from that, all done, I think, for today. animated canvases, haunted podium. I love the haunted podium. That's great. And a couple of other quick tests and things to do. All right. Small note with spawn point, because this comes up a fair bit. A spawn point is based on two things to be blue. One is that it needs to not be in a collider. And note that if it is 0, 0, 0, it's still red. So if you do 0.0001, it goes blue, for example. Maybe we can fix that actually, so it's less of a problem. But that said, I would probably recommend putting it up a little bit so you just have that full position. The other thing is that, yeah, excellent. If there is no, get rid of the gizmos. It's a gizmo. Okay, shrink the gizmos. If there is no collider under the object, so it basically would fall to the bottom, only to spawn and fall to the bottom, basically will also go red. So there are two conditions for any spawn point to function. So make sure that both of those are correct. If it is red, I believe it will default to the 0, 0, 0. So there is a high chance that is the problem with that. So keep that in mind. All right. Okay, let's call it there. Thanks all for coming in. This will be on YouTube and available forever if YouTube works that way. And I'll probably be starting more workshops on a weekly basis, trying to figure out some other times that might work for people. I realize this might be a bit late for some. So even starting at maybe 9 if I can get up that earlier, because over here it's a bit different and I have a very strange schedule. But also other times that I can try and figure out that work for other people, for example. So that's on the books and we'll see how we go there. Thanks for coming. Hope you enjoyed it and have a lovely day. Bye.